when I saw that ending, I said, it feels like this is a Coen Brothers movie. And
oh yeah, you're dead on.
Okay, so I'm thinking of, what are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of Raising Arizona. What are you thinking? Yeah, baby, come on. This is it, dude. This is it.
The moment I saw those little kids, those little badasses run through the house, man, I thought about those dogs running. I said, this is Raising Arizona.
It's Raising Arizona. It's Raising Arizona. And proudly so.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Corey here, but that doesn't matter. You're not here to see me. You're here to see the special guest that we have here today. And indeed, this is a truly special guest. By now, everyone has heard of the movie Weapons. And that movie has spent 2 weeks at #1 at the box office. It's made over $100 million on a $38 million budget. And I am honored to have the director of that film back here today, and that is Mr. Zach Cregger. How you doing, Zach?
Hey, man, I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
Hey, once again, we were talking a little bit before, so I've already been kissing his ass. I've been saying, hey, it's a real honor to have you come back and do this with me. I know you must be extremely busy right now, so thank you.
I'm thrilled to be back. I really love your show, so I'm happy to be here.
Well, man, jumping right into it. So, I just got through talking about how successful the movie has been. So how has life changed for you after the success of this film?
I can honestly say zero because, I'm here in Prague now and I'm prepping another movie. So I'm just kind of in the thick of it. I was in prep before Weapons came out. I'm still in prep now after it's come out. So, my day to day is the exact same. So, I can't imagine when I come back to America that, there's going to be some sort of a parade in the streets for me or anything. So I feel like my life's going to look similar. I'm happy the movie was well received. It definitely, it makes it feel like it's not going to be an uphill battle to get the next one going. And that's really all I care about is will I be able to keep making movies? So yeah, it seems like I've got to stay a reprieve.
With this film here, man. So for those who don't know, and I was just showing a little bit of it while Zach was talking. The premise of this is that at 2:17 in the morning, a bunch of kids get up in the middle of the night and they just disappear into the night. And the movie's about how this has impacted a lot of people within this small town where this has happened. With this film being as successful as it is, and you're talking about how it will be able to get the next project done. I'm sure that studios, they've responded to the success of this, and sometimes they make decisions without consulting the director. And I've heard that there's a possible, or at least there's talks of maybe doing a prequel to this. And because within the movie, the kids, I'm going to do some minor spoilers here for people. The reason the kids have disappeared is because of one particular character in the film, and that is the character of Gladys. Gladys is revealed to be a witch. But what I like about the movie is that there's no big explanation for Gladys. There's no background on Gladys. And I've heard that the studios want to do a prequel that explains Gladys. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. It's not news to me. Look, I'm not opposed to that, and there's a story that I like that would go into Gladys before this movie. Look, to me, it's not about how to talk about it without inviting bad speculation. Here's all I'll say about it. There's a story that follows Gladys before the events of Weapons that I think is really fun and exciting. And I don't really want to say any more than that. I'll say this, it was my idea. It didn't originate at the studio. It originated, from me and a friend that I'm actually was kind of kicking around some ideas with. So I reached out to them about this and because I like the idea so much. Look, I don't have to make a Gladys origin story. I'm in a pretty fortunate position where I can make other other movies. I'm only even having the conversation with the studio about this because I just think it's such a thrilling idea. So, I'll let people make of that what they will, but I really love this story. That's all I can say.
Nothing concrete yet, but there is a possibility.
Nothing concrete. Nothing concrete.
That this character could have something out there. And I understand you don't want people running with this and saying like, oh, coming up next, the Gladys story. Yeah, I understand. Now, while you were making this movie, it was so kind of you to allow me to come to the set and visit. And
okay, I didn't know if you were talking about that publicly, that you came and hung out on set, which was so great to have you, dude. It was awesome.
Well, I was very careful because you didn't even have me sign an NDA when I came there. And so I barely talked about it. For one, I don't want to seem like I was name dropping and all this kind of stuff. I want to give the
Okay, well, the NDA is over. And I didn't, by the way, let it be known, I didn't make you sign an NDA. I'm sure somebody from the studio did, I have to imagine. But I think that was to protect spoilers until the release of the movie. So I think at this point, you can say whatever you want.
Well, yeah, but let me just say this. I didn't say anything about that. I
believe you. I believe
when
you.
I came back, I just said the movie's insane. That's all I said.
Okay.
And I said nothing else. I know how to shut my mouth, believe it or not. And so, but one of the things that, now that I can say this, one of the things that you so graciously let me do, and I really appreciate this, is that not only did you let me sit on the set, and it was wild watching the movie being filmed. Why you gave me the script? You let me read the script ahead of time,
right?
And that was just a really fascinating experience, reading on the page and actually seeing some parts I was reading being filmed. However, as I neared the end of the script, it really did get insane. And as I said, I didn't say anything, and I was really wanting to tell people because at the end of this movie, if you've seen it, folks out there, then you know that the end of this movie is wild. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because not only is it horrific, but it's horrifically humorous too. I have a friend of mine named Oz who said that, and he means this as a compliment. He says that the end of the movie is the best comedy he's seen this year. He laughed so hard at it. But also, I think that it works as a bit of horror too. So when I read it at the end of the script, it did come across as just insane and horrific. And when I saw it in the movie, I really did laugh hard too and didn't expect it to be that funny. Was that always your intention?
For the end, yeah. I mean, I know that once the kids go crashing through the first windows, there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. We all kind of see the writing on the wall. We know this is going to go down, in a really bad way for Gladys. And I'm hoping that at that point, it's just pure catharsis. It's just pure joy, And even though it's graphically violent, sometimes graphic violence can be really fun. And so, watching 17 children pull an old lady's head in half to me is, if I can make that fun, let's go. So yeah, I wouldn't be an idiot if I was pissed off that people weren't scared at the end of the movie. It's not scary. It's ridiculous, So I love that.
I was thinking of one particular film. You could tell me if this is the case. And this is the reason why I have it hooked up for you to see clips that I'm playing. Because I want
great. Okay.
Yeah, because there's something that you've talked about a lot of influences for this film. You've talked about that it's an ensemble movie. And you talked about how Magnolia has been an influence on that. I have one other person I want to bring up. I want to do that in a little bit. But when I saw that ending, I said, it feels like this is a Coen Brothers movie. And
oh yeah, you're dead on.
Okay, so I'm thinking of, what are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of Raising Arizona. What are you thinking? Yeah, baby, come on. This is it, dude. This is it.
The moment I saw those little kids, those little badasses run through the house, man, and I thought about those dogs running. I said, this is Raising Arizona.
It's Raising Arizona. It's Raising Arizona. And proudly so.
Yeah, and that is why I said, oh, this is really meant to be funny because it reminded me so much of that. Well, I'm glad I wasn't out of line with that.
No. I mean, it's Raising Arizona. It's Point Break. I think a lot of people say Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but that doesn't really mean anything to me because that's not a movie that was a big movie for me as a kid. Seven, running through the chase in Seven, but that's much darker. But definitely Raising Arizona is the star. That's the one.
Well, I'm relieved because I thought I would ask you that, and you'd be like, "No, that's stupid. I didn't. That had nothing to do
Come
with
on,
that."
man. First of all, I worship the Coen Brothers. So any Coen Brothers anything, I'm gonna absorb and replicate. You know.
Yeah. And so much of this reminded me of this right here, man. And I was, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I was laughing so hard because of that.
Looking at that clip that you just showed of him in the supermarket, that scene where Justine is running in the gas station is a lot of this. It really looks like that. So it's not just at the end. It's definitely in other places.
Nice.
And there's no filmmaker like at all my age who's not profoundly affected by No Country for Old Men. And I don't really know how that applies to Weapons, but I see it all over the map with other people. It's got to be in there to a degree with Weapons. In fact, I think even some of Gladys's wardrobe, in an odd way, is a nod to Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. Just in the idea of like it's somebody kind of impersonating their environment, poorly. And I think like Gladys, like that wig and this makeup and the crazy jewelry and everything, it's her just trying her best and failing at like blending in, I think.
While we're talking about influences here, so one of the things we talked about the first time I interviewed you, and I was happy that you praised me for this. I was talking about how I was really impressed with Ari Aster,
Yeah.
And I was, I love this movie. There's something about the Johnsons, and then I really love
The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. Yeah, and I thought it was amazing that you not many people locked onto that movie the way that you did and recognized the talent that was there, but it was there.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought I was crazy when I showed them that. Like, what the hell is this? And this director, he's going to go to jail at some point or something. I was like, no, this guy is amazing. And then his follow-ups were Hereditary and Midsummer. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, there's something that Ari Aster does where he is able to combine his own sensibilities with humor and comedy and mix it with very dark horror. And I kind of felt like there was something similar to that you were doing with Weapons. Again, am I out of line with thinking that, or was there an Ari Aster influence here?
Well, Hereditary is probably my favorite horror movie of this century. So I mean, yeah, it's got to be in there somewhat. The witchcraft and the manipulation and this kind of terror in plain sight and the sudden explosive violence. I'd say that some of that must stem from just my love of that movie, and that made its way into Weapons. I kind of always thought of Weapons as Magnolia meets Hereditary, and I'm not saying it's nearly as good as either of those movies. Those are just two of my favorites, and so to kind of play in that sandbox felt very exciting to me. But yeah, I think that Ari is as good as it gets. When I watch Beau is Afraid, my jaw's just on the floor all the way through. I think he's doing stuff in that movie that is so on another level. Just cinematically, it's on such an incredible high level that I kind of can't believe it. I kind of can't believe what he did in that movie. So, and I know it's incredibly divisive, but also, my favorite art is divisive. So, I just my respect for him, which was already at the ceiling for Hereditary, just went way up for Beau is Afraid.
So some Ari Aster influence, safely to say, is in the film.
It's safe. That is a long-winded way of saying it's completely safe to say.
No,
yeah,
not long-winded at all.
I really love him. I love his stuff.
Something, man, after watching this movie, and by the way, I just want to say again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of that early process of the film, because I really do love it, man. And when I walked away, I was thinking, when you read something on paper, you never know how it's going to come across on the screen.
Right.
And I was nervous. I was like, man, let me come here and watch this. And what if I walk away and I don't really like it that much? But I love it.
Hey, guess who else was nervous?
Well, I think we could both.
There's nobody more nervous than me, man. Is this thing going to work? Is this going to translate? Like, can I pull this off? I was terrified.
Well, we both can breathe a sigh of relief because the movie's successful. People love it. I loved it, man. The more I think about it, I'm not just saying this because, I'm talking to you. I really do love the movie the more that I ponder on it and think about it. And I noticed that after watching this and Barbarian, which that's the first time I actually talked to you because I really love Barbarian, and it was and I was so excited that I got an interview with you about that because I just wanted to let you know how much I loved it. And I finally started thinking about it, and I really like these movies for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons that I enjoyed both those films is because I just think that you're very good with actors. I think you're very good with character, and I really think that you're excellent with dialogue. And
Thank you.
Well, I think that's why both these movies work so well is because you really do have an approach where you give these characters a lot of rich background, and and that's you really dwell on them before we actually get into horror. I get into a lot of the horror in the movie, and looking at how you write these characters and how you write dialogue, I was just wondering, is there a particular person that has inspired you when you write characters or dialogue?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you. That's kind of like my favorite compliment I could ever get because, I'm happy that the movie functions as a genre piece, but to me, like the trait of a really good genre movie is if it can function, just as a straight drama. Like, is the performance there, is the dialogue there, is the character arc, is the character building there? So I'm very gratified to hear you say that. In terms of like who are my big influences on that, I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson for sure is just a huge one for me. In terms of just his character, the depth of his characters. I mean, like I feel like if I had my druthers, I would like to make a Bennett Miller movie. I feel like that guy in terms of like character and acting and dialogue is kind of one of the treasures, that we have right now. And it's sad that he's only made three movies and one documentary. But, so he did, for people who don't know, Bennett Miller did like Moneyball and he did Foxcatcher and he did Capote. And he did an amazing documentary called Cruise. But I just think that like he's, to me, kind of unrivaled. Well, that's not true. I don't know. But So yeah, I'd say PTA and him are like my kind of my character dialogue gods, I suppose.
So this is another big compliment here. So while watching the movie, and you're right, it is a horror movie, and it's effective as a horror movie, but then it goes in these other places where I'm so lost in the characters' lives and the story they're telling about them, and so it's because you get so personal with them that I forget that I'm watching a horror movie. And I mean that in the best way.
I love that. I love to hear you say that.
Because there were moments where I felt like, and I said this in our review, I felt like it went into almost a buddy comedy movie when you had James and his story with the cop.
Yeah.
The drama in the film I thought worked so well. And, I'm thinking that other people are responding to it that way also because, and maybe I'm talking on my ass here or whatever, but I've heard kind of people say that the movie's Oscar worthy and that it's something that you probably should pay attention to when we do get around Oscar time. There's a possible nomination for the movie. Have you heard about this?
I've heard about it. I don't know what to say about that.
I guess you kind of want to keep yourself a little tempered then, It's like,
it's just not, there's no good could come from me commenting on it or even really dwelling on it or thinking about it. So I'm flattered that people are saying it, but I don't know what else to say.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did I speak?
No, it's not a sore subject. It's not a sore subject. I feel self-conscious even talking about that stuff, and that's a me thing. It's not a you thing. It's totally fair for you to bring it up.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I just thought I thought that
you don't need to be sorry. You don't need to be sorry. My reaction is because this is the first time I've been asked about it publicly, and I was like, oh, I have not prepared like my take on how I even feel about that, which is that because I just kind of avoid thinking about it. So don't, Corey, you got nothing to worry about, man.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you then.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Me talking about how I enjoy the characters, and I really enjoyed the performances in the movie. What's your approach to working with actors, especially when you have such a large cast to work with?
Well, sorry, doubling back because now I'm spiraling a little. I do want to say I don't mean to like poo-poo. I do think I think there are performances in this movie that, yes, I would be so thrilled if they did get any kind of awards recognition. I think Amy, my God, like what she did in this movie is spectacular, and I think it totally warrants it. In terms of my approach of working with actors, well, part of it is, and this is such a cliche, but it's so true. It's all in the casting. I mean, quite frankly, I cast killers. I cast people that are just excellent at their job and have comic timing. As long as they have comic timing and they are like, have shown me in other things that they're excellent, then I know I'm going to be fine, and they're going to make my dialogue sound great. If you cast a different slew of people, I could look like a really subpar writer, but the fact is that Josh Brolin is going to make just about anything sound fantastic because he's just that good. And so I get to just kind of, stand on their shoulders and look much smarter than I probably am. But, they're wonderful. I honestly, I have a killer in every single role in this movie. And I'm so, even the kid, dude, even Carrie Christopher, I just hit the jackpot with that kid. So the movie gods really looked out for me on this one. And all I do is kind of just tone management. So when we're on set, I'm not talking to them about backstory. I'm not giving them line readings. I might say a little faster, a little quieter, come in at a 9 instead of a 5, that's the kind of direction that I have to offer. I don't really have much more than that.
So you say they need comic timing. Even if they're going in for a dramatic role, you're saying that they need comic timing. Why is that? Explain that.
I don't know, because I just think there's an inherent pace to this that needs to stay a little ridiculous. And I think if I brought in somebody with amazing comedy chops, with amazing dramatic chops, but they had no comic timing, then everything's going to kind of fall on its face. It's just the way I write. Even if a scene is not funny, I need someone with a funny bone to deliver the dialogue. And I wish I could articulate exactly why that is important to me, but it just is. It's like Josh doesn't have a ton of funny stuff to do in this movie, but by God, when he says what, it's hysterical because Josh is so funny, and I need that. I need that ingredient,
When I was visiting the set, if that's okay, I want to just
get in there. Yeah.
Okay. So again, you're such a busy guy, but like you're so humble and again, you're so gracious, man, and you're so kind that when I got there, and I know it was a slower day, but you did take time out to like give me a tour of the set. And I love that because there are these houses, and I was telling people, on the side, like my friend Martin, I was telling him, man, I went there and it was amazing how they built these houses inside of a warehouse. And they look so realistic when you go around the house. In fact, you told me that toilet, don't take a shit in it because it doesn't flush, but it looks real.
Well, you were about to, and folks at home, we would like by the buzzer we got for you.
I was about to shut that door, man. He like, hey, what are you doing in there? But so when the movie's over, imagine that they tear all that down, and so you spend so much time shooting on these sets. Is it sort of sad to see them being torn down after such a long time?
Dude, can I be honest with you? Not at all. Honestly. No, in fact, it's wonderful because it's so making a movie is so stressful and it's so exhausting. And by the end of that shoot, man, I don't think you were there near the end. I think you were there like maybe 2/3 of the way into it. But near the very end, I was so fatigued, man, that I like. On the last week, there was a day I actually couldn't even stand up. I'm embarrassed to say it, but like I had to direct a second unit, which was like, a later like skeleton crew shoot, like with some of the kids running in the dark. One of those scenes I had to direct from home, laying on a couch with a video link hooked up to an IV because I couldn't stand. I was so tired because we were shooting like 6 to 8 weeks, double shifts, me and my cinematographer and my producer. So, I would be doing like 6 to 8 weeks, 20-hour days here and there. Not all the way through, but like it was really, really demanding. And so So, one of my great pleasures is you come home at the end of every day and I would cross out the scenes in the script. I'd cross out the scenes we shot. And I was like, I cannot wait until everything is crossed out and I'm done. Like, I cannot wait to be done. So when we wrapped and they broke that thing down, I was already wheels up. I was like, get me home, get me to a bed. Let me rest, God. So no sadness for me.
Moving on from weapons, you're doing something else that you told me about, and I was surprised to hear it, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear it. And you're working on. Well, can I say what you're working on right now?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so you're working on Resident Evil, and now, of course, that's based on the series of video games. Also, series of films that have been made, and there's been several adaptations about this. So we talked about your idea for the movie, and again, I'm not saying anything at all, but I will just say that you were very proud of having a different approach to your film that is way different from the other adaptations that we've seen. And, what can you say about that?
All I can say is that it is true to the experience of the games. It takes place in the world of the games, but most importantly, the journey you'll have as a viewer of watching this movie is going to be similar to the journey you have as a player when you play these games. And what that means is it follows one protagonist from point A to point B as they just descend deeper and deeper and deeper into hell. And as someone who's played, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of hours of Resident Evil, I just feel like I know how that pacing can go, and it's inherently cinematic. And I feel like there's a great movie that can live inside of this world and inside of that sort of pacing. And I'm just really, really pumped about the story that we get to tell here. So I feel like I'm chomping at the bit to make this thing. I know there's been a lot of speculation online that I should just be doing an original next and not an IP, but I don't think that those people will have that complaint when they see this, because it is an original. It's very much as a movie that feels in line with my sensibility, has my kind of sense of tone, and it's just a much bigger scale than Weapons and certainly Barbarian. And I just think I think it's going to be really cool, and I've never seen a movie like it. So I'm like beyond excited making this.
Obviously, you're a fan. Huge fan of Resident Evil.
I'm a huge fan of the games. Now, I've never seen a Resident Evil movie. And so, I imagine that if there are people out there that are just rabid fans of the movie franchise, they're probably, not really prepared for what I'm going to be doing. But I think the people that are fans of the games are probably going to be stoked.
And you have such a unique approach to horror. I think, and you might have already answered this, but how much of this is very faithful to the games, and how much of this is Weapons and Barbarians, your influence in there?
It's much more in the world of the games than Weapons and Barbarian.
Is there a particular game that you would say that this is based on?
Well, I mean, it probably lives more in the world of 2 and 3, but I'd say it adheres more to the tone of 4. But the thing about the games is that the game franchise itself is incredibly malleable. 2 and 3 take place in Raccoon City, and then 4 takes place in like Spain, and it feels like it's in the past, even though it's not. And then like 7 is like a Texas Chainsaw kind of a thing, and then 8 is like some ancient European village, and definitely in the past. So the games don't even have some sort of a set lore that it's not rigid. And so I don't think I'm taking any more liberties with this than the game franchise does at all. So I think I'm coloring within the lines.
So you're shooting in Prague for this.
Yeah.
So what's the reason for shooting there?
Well, Prague has, a rebate that makes this movie makeable for the budget that we have. And it has it has talented crew, and it has some great stages. There's a lot of resources here, and we're just it's the right place. It's the right place for it.
Man, I was telling you, Prague is on my list of places that I want to go to at some point. If I happen to be in Prague.
If you want to pop in and hang out on the set of Resident Evil, Corey, you can.
Hey, man, I will take you up on that. You just tell me when the right time is to do it, and I will be over there.
You got it, man. I mean, we start rolling mid-October and we should be done at the end of January. So you've got plenty of time.
I think you've written Henchman, which is a DC movie.
Yeah, this is funny. This has really been blown out of proportion online. So I wrote Henchman, which is a story that takes place in the DC universe, like years before I even wrote Barbarian, and I really love it. Now it's not a Joker and Harley script. I've seen that online, and no, I have not talked to James Gunn about it. I haven't really talked to anybody at the DC universe about it because, as much as I love that story, I have Resident Evil in front of me, and then there's a sci-fi movie that I'm looking to make after Resident Evil that I also wrote a long time ago, and that's going to take up a couple of years of my life right there. So there's no point of me kind of running around and trying to set this sale up right now. So, I just think because it's such a fun playground, people have written a lot about it online, and not much of that is true. So, sorry, I didn't even let you get a question out there, Corey. I apologize.
No, you actually you said way more than I expected. And
okay, all right.
You answered everything.
Okay.
When I was hanging out, I thought it was really cool that you were talking about other films, and at the time you were talking about you and the cast. I forgot what it was. You were going to see another horror movie that day. Do you remember what that was?
Well, it might have been Long Legs. I think we saw Long Legs while we were shooting. Was that it?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, you and the cast were talking about going to see Long Legs.
Yeah, we did.
So with you now being someone a big name in horror at this moment, who do you look at right now as someone that you admire within the genre, or anybody whose work that is that at this moment that I'm making films, and maybe something that just came out in the last year? Who are you looking at?
Wow. I mean, honestly, Ari is like the guy I'm just the most kind of fascinated by. I just, I don't think it's possible for him to make a movie that isn't going to be endlessly, fascinating to me. I can pick apart like every edit of every movie and look at every angle and feel like I'm learning something special. I just think he just is on another level. And so yeah, I know Eddington was incredibly divisive. I know a lot of people didn't respond to that movie. I just, for whatever reason, he kind of can do no wrong for me, and I'm just gonna rewatch his stuff a lot, But in terms of other like contemporary horror stuff, I'm an equal opportunity consumer. I try and watch as much as I can. I mean, I watch the big flashy stuff. I'll watch like everything from, a classy Robert Eggers movie to I have a Shudder subscription, and I try and watch, a ton of those movies. There's a movie called Dead Male that came out on Shudder that I think was made by like two teachers, like two guys in the Midwest. I think they're from Milwaukee or somewhere. And they made this movie Dead Male for like, dude, probably $80,000 or less, maybe not even. And I thought it was amazing. I thought it was like truly like a gem. And I'd encourage anybody who wants to find something fresh and cool, check out Dead Male. Loved that movie. Have you seen that, Corey?
No, I have not. And I also have a Shudder account. Yeah, I will, man. I there's so much that I want to see, and I really do love sitting down and watching smaller projects, which is one of the reasons why I do have a Shudder account, because there's so many smaller movies that are being done, and I don't know, man. I think I'm even becoming a fan of Tubi at this moment.
Yeah, I get you. For me, it's weird. Shudder is so fascinating because even if I'll start every Shudder original horror movie that comes out. When I see Shudder 2025, I'm like, let's go. Here we go. Come on. And I feel like even if they're, not up to my, I don't want to say up to my standard or whatever, but even if I don't connect with them, even if they're like kind of made ineptly sometimes, I still feel fascinated by how they construct a scare and what's successful and what's unsuccessful. I feel like I can almost learn as much from an unsuccessful horror movie as I can from a successful one, because it just gets my brain going, and I'll be like, well, why do they light it this way? Or why is the camera there? Why do they have this person yelling? So I don't know. I'm a glutton for this stuff. And it's weird because I didn't really even get into horror until later in life. You know, when I was in high school, I loved horror movies, but they weren't like my main love. I loved Scorsese and I loved Tarantino and I loved, you know, the Coen Brothers and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but the older I get, I do think the darker my sensibilities have become. For whatever good, I'm a pretty happy person. You know, I'm not. This is not a front. I'm a generally like, you know, I love my life. I love my friends. I'm in a good mood most of the time. But I don't know why. But like the music I listen to and the art that I'm attracted to and the movies that I seek tend to be really, really dark. And I don't really have a problem with that. It's just curious.
So I'm gonna try to pin you down on this right here because you said
Okay.
you don't know why, and you do seem like such a happy guy, and your background is in comedy. You know, the whitest kids you know.
Dark, but it was pretty dark comedy. You know, if you watch any of that shit, it's pretty morbid stuff.
Okay, that's fair enough. But what do you think really attributes this darkness thing? You know, this funness for dark things.
I think I had some childhood stuff that probably just cut a line of anger into me as a little kid that is never going to go away. And I think I'm maybe the older I get, the more I'm able to kind of just engage with that part of myself, you know, without getting into all the, you know, not fun details. But I think that's probably part of it. Is maybe the healthier I get, the more I'm able to just kind of like stare that part of myself in the face and not be ashamed of it. And so maybe to me that might sound abstract and weird, but I think that's where it comes from. I think it comes from some childhood stuff.
Okay, like a lot of people, you know, there's some things. But would you call it trauma, or would you just call it just like, you know, like?
I don't know. Trauma is a word that's so overused, and especially in conjunction with horror filmmaking, that I have an allergic reaction to that word.
And this is embarrassing for me to ask because this is one of my. If you would have just pushed me against the wall and say I will blow your brains out if you don't tell me in 2 seconds what your favorite movie of the year is, I think one of the things that would pop up immediately is the movie Companion.
Wait, can we just hold on and just talk about this amazing scenario you set up where I'm going to shove you against the wall, put a gun in your head and be like, I will blow your brains out if you don't tell me what your favorite movie of 2025
I'm an indecisive person. If you ask me what my favorite movie is, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I see so many movies, but I mean, like, I have to have somebody put a gun to my head to make me say something. So
I'm right there with you. I think I'm the same.
So I'm just saying, like, if you made me answer immediately, I think I would say that Companion is the movie that comes to mind. And a lot of people see or have seen the movie Companion. You know what I'm talking about. This is, and I'm not going to say too much because I think that the least you know about this movie, the better. But was your name producer on there?
Yeah, I produced Companion. Yeah.
Okay, again, I apologize, man, because I love this movie and I should have known that you were on there.
No, that's okay. It came about in an interesting way. I was sent the script for me to consider directing, and this was before Barbarian even came out, I believe. Yeah, Barbarian hadn't come out. I hadn't written Weapons yet. I think I was maybe beginning to consider writing Weapons. And my timeline may be a little fuzzy here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about everything I'm saying. So I'd wrapped Barbarian. I was in the edit on Barbarian. I was set the script. I loved it. And I said, yeah, I'll direct this. And then I was talking with Drew, the writer, and I was having him make some changes. And then I decided it would be better for me to make an original next. I kind of felt terrible that I was like, you know what, I think I shouldn't do this. But I could tell that Drew had such a firm grasp of the material, and he really had a point of view about it. And so he never directed a movie or anything like that. But I was like, Drew, bad news, good news, dude. Bad news, I'm pulling out. I'm not going to direct this movie. And he was kind of like, I kind of knew I knew this was coming. I knew it. And I'm kind of saying this in a voice that is not Drew's voice, but I think he was disappointed. I was like, good news is I went and I talked to all the other producers, and I pitched you as the director, and you know, they're down. So what do you think, man? You want to direct it? And bizarrely, he had to he had to take a couple of days to think about it, which is, maybe I respect that because, he didn't want to just flippantly walk into a gigantic responsibility, which is directing a movie. And I that's fair. But 2 days later, we talked again. He was like, okay, yes, I'm in. And I'm so glad that he said yes, because I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Like he directed the shit out of that movie. And I'm glad that it's on your top of the list, because I think he made something really, really special. And I'm really proud that I was able to be a part of it.
People have not seen this movie. Please drop everything and check this out. I really do think that the movie was done an injustice. And I want to hear what you have to say about this, because they had a trailer that was out. And I saw that trailer, the first trailer they put out, and had no idea what this movie was about. And I think I actually saw the movie before anything else came out. And once I learned that there was another trailer that told everybody everything, I'm like, why did you do that? Because this movie really does work without knowing what the big reveal is in this film. Did you ever see this happen with this movie?
I was not a part of that trailer process, for better or worse. And it's a delicate line you're trying to walk when you're trying to advertise a movie, because you want to put out enough to get butts in seats, but you also want to preserve the viewing experience. And I think it's very fair, the point that you're making. And I don't know. I don't know that I disagree with you, Corey. It's tough, because I think everyone's trying their best to make the best decision they can with the limited information that they have. This is me being as diplomatic as I possibly can. It's hard to talk about it, but I think that there was definitely some frustration there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie's still great. The movie's amazing, and really, I think people should see this. And I don't know where it's streaming right now, but people get on it if you can. You're talking about how you produce this film, and I really love hearing you talk about these people that you see on Shudder, and the people that made a movie for $80,000, which is pennies for Hollywood. Do you ever see yourself coming in and maybe seeing someone that you do see on Shudder that's up and coming, made a really small budget movie, and maybe contacting them at some point and helping them out or producing a film for them?
I think I would if I think I would. And by the way, I've emailed with those guys that made Dead Male that I'm talking about. And so, I definitely with them. But I got to be honest, one thing that I have realized from Companion, I have a couple other things that I'm producing, is that, there is, if you're going to be an effective producer, it requires a lot from you, and it takes up a lot of bandwidth, and there's a lot of Zooms you got to get on, and arguments you're going to have to get in with people, and I don't know that right now, at this stage of my life and of my career, that is that amount of bandwidth, I'm not really willing to give it up. I like to give all of myself to the movie that I'm making. And because, I went straight out of Weapons into Resident Evil, and ideally I'm going to go straight out of Resident Evil into this sci-fi thing. I just don't know that it's helpful for me to be producing, right now. And I don't know if it's fair to other filmmakers to have me on as a producer, because I'm not going to be able to give them what they deserve. So, right now it's not really high up on my list,
Well, you talk about how you had an IV in your arm where you were still trying to direct something from your couch. If I was somebody who was trying to be an up and coming director, that would scare the shit out of me, man. I'd be like, wow,
it should. And by the way, it should, because I think a lot of people that want to become filmmakers, they, all they talk about in film school and on YouTube, when you look at all these like directing, assessments, is they talk about, camera work and dialogue and editing and mise en scène and all these things. But what they don't talk about is the other half of the coin. Half of it is technique. The other half is temperament and stamina and the ability to withstand a psychic onslaught. And I tell you this, there's no movie of any budget that doesn't come with a massive psychic onslaught. If you really care about what you're making, you are going to be faced with 1,000 reasons to compromise all the time. And you have to be the one that just stands there and says, no, I know it's hard. I know there's an easier way, but this is what it has to be. And I feel like successful directors are the ones that are almost more than the art side are able to navigate that sort of psychic landscape correctly. And that is brutal, dude. It's something I don't know how you teach. You just have to kind of sink or swim. And so it's hard. I wasn't laid out on the couch hooked up to an IV because I was doing strenuous physical labor, I was laid out because I was just like fatigued in my heart, and that's the tough part.
How do you do that, man? How do you get yourself into after such a stressful, a stressful experience directing one movie? How do you like clear your head and jump into something else?
Because you love the next story so much. I love this Resident Evil script so much that, dude, like, as soon as I was done with Weapons, probably before I was done with Weapons, I was storyboarding literally every frame of Resident Evil. So, before I even started prep, I had the entire movie in a PDF, shot by shot by shot by shot, everything. Because, I think you have to be an obsessive to do this. And for better or worse, I am one. And so, I think like childbirth, the pain of making Weapons is like, in retrospect, dulled. But God, I hope I learned some lesson from that so that I'm not doing the same IV radio monitor, on this movie, but we'll see.
That's interesting. Do you storyboard all your movies yourself?
Well, I didn't storyboard all of Barbarian and Weapons. I photoboarded them. So for both of those movies, I would go with my cinematographer a month in advance, and we would pick every angle, every lens, everything, so that by the time we get on set, I've already shot the movie, as it were, on still, so that we'd have a big poster board and we'd have every single frame we wanted to get that day. Every shot was right there up on the board. So there'd be like 15 shots or whatever, and then we'd shoot it. We'd move on, we'd pull it down, we'd shoot the next one and then we'd pull it down. It's very satisfying to pull those down. So in a way, with Weapons and Barbarian, I photoboarded them, but with Resident Evil, I storyboarded them. So it's a little different, but yeah.
Man, this has been very educational, by the way. I think you've given a little mini film course right here for a few people.
The film course where I just say like, it's hard, it's miserable.
You'll be on your couch with IV in your arm.
They really should figure out a way to work into the curriculum at USC, like how to deal with psychic stress, how to deal with the pressure. That should be part of it.
Yeah,
meditation.
There we go. Meditation is a huge part of your process.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a part of the creative process, and it's also part of my just like energy process where, I meditate at lunch every day so that I'm able to release the pressure of the morning and then start fresh for the afternoon. So nice. Yeah, that's crucial.
Well, hey man, listen, that's all I have for you today. I could talk to you all day, but this was it's really amazing to catch up with you again, man.
I love talking to you, Corey. It's really fun. I love your show. I just you got a great mind, dude. I love listening to you talk about movies. It's really fun.
Oh, that's a huge compliment coming from you, man. I really do appreciate that. I'm very honored, man. And like I said, I was very honored to have you here. Again, you must be having a million things thrown at you. So for you to take time out to do this, that's incredible. I appreciate that.
Genuinely my pleasure. And please, by all means, it's not a hollow invitation. You're so welcome if you want to come to Europe and hang out on the set of this one. You're totally invited.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let it be said now. I'm coming, man.
All right.
Okay.
I believe you.
All right.
I believe you.
Is there a particular time that's best? You said you're going to be doing this from October to January. Because again, I'm asking you this because of the process of filming. Like I know it's different for every movie, but when is it the hardest time and when does it slow down?
It's hard always. It's always hard.
When is it less hard?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know the answer to that because I think this movie's crazy. And I think the very beginning, I think is our like kind of find our sea legs. So maybe the first week of shooting was like the easiest, but then it's going to kick into high gear and it's going to stay in high gear all the way through. So whenever works for you, dude. All
right. I'm going to say November. How about that?
There you go.
All right. Well, congratulations on everything, man. And seriously, people, if you have not seen it, and There's very few that haven't. But if you have not seen it, definitely go see Weapons. It's one of the best movies of the year, and I'm not exaggerating. When I say it's one of the best,
it's no companion. If we put a gun to your head, you'd say companion. Don't think that's lost.
If you put a gun to my head, I'll blow your brains out. If you say what's the difference between Weapons and companion, which one you like better? I'm gonna say Weapons, because you're sitting in front of me right now.
Because you're talking to me right now. Yeah, good.
You're the one with the gun to my head at that moment.
Yeah, you better answer wisely, friend.
Weapons, man. Come on, man. But yeah, people, if you haven't seen it, excellent film. Works as a drama, a comedy, and a horror movie. One of the most unique things you'll see this year. And that's because of this unique mind right here. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, buddy.